Speaking is Seneca County historian Walter Gable. I'm speaking to you for this brief program on 9/11, one of the worst tragedies in United States history. First, I want us to begin by standing and doing the pledge to the flag of the United States. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will save our moment of silence to exactly 8:46 a.m., the time on 9/11/2001 that the first plane struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Memories of the events of 9/11/2001 are probably engraved in our minds, with our remembering where we were and what we were doing when we first heard of the events unfolding. Many of you were probably right here in Seneca County, New York. I was in Monterey, California, doing consulting work for the New York State Education Department. Here you see several facts about the events of that terrible day. The events were planned and coordinated as terrorist attacks, and Osama bin Laden did admit that he was responsible for the planning. 2 commercial jets struck the 2 towers of the World Trade Center. One struck the Pentagon near Washington, D.C., and one crashed at Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and didn't reach its intended target in Washington, D.C. American Airlines Flight 11 struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center at 8:46 a.m. At that time today, we will pause for a moment of silence. United Airlines Flight 175 struck the South Tower at 9:03 a.m. The 2 towers did collapse. Here you see where the jets struck each tower. Almost all the visuals I am showing in this presentation have come from the internet. These pictures depict the aircraft striking one of the World Trade Center towers. Nearly 3,000 people lost their lives in the destruction of the 2 towers of the World Trade Center. People who worked there, as well as firefighters and police officers. The estimate of damages was $60 billion. You can see I'm letting the pictures speak for themselves. Here you see a picture before and after the collapse of the 2 towers of the World Trade Center. These pictures suggest the tremendous emotional impact on people because of the tragedy. This shows Ground Zero largely as it looks today. Near to where the two towers stood, a new building called Freedom Tower has been constructed, and it is not coincidence that its name is Freedom Tower and that it is 1,776 feet tall. United Flight 93 was taken over by terrorists who diverted its flight route, presumably to attack some site in Washington, D.C. We speculate strongly that it was the White House or the U.S. Capitol building. Passengers on the flight, knowing that their lives were going to be lost regardless, they decided they were going to overtake the terrorists and prevent the plane from reaching that target in D.C. On the signal phrase, "Let's roll," at 9:57 a.m., the passengers began to overtake the terrorists, and the aircraft crashed near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Here is the hole of destruction caused by the crash. Another view. A fence near to the crash site itself quickly became, in effect, a memorial to the heroes of Flight 93. Another part of the memorial at the Shanksville site is this stone engraved with the phrase, "Let's roll." This is another part of the memorial there. Shifting to the Washington, D.C. area, American Airlines Flight 77 struck a portion of the Pentagon building across the Potomac River from Washington, D.C., located itself in Arlington, Virginia. Someone captured this picture of the aircraft literally approaching the Pentagon building. Here you begin to see some of the destruction. I'll proceed with still more close-up views. Pentagon is a five-sided building, and it's actually 5 rows of buildings connected by hallways. And so you can see the destruction penetrated more than just the outside ring, as they're called. Imagine if you were an office worker in one of the offices in even the second ring or the third ring from the outside, and this destruction happened to you. If you survived, probably not. But if you were near to where the destruction happened, imagine your thoughts with such a tragic event unfolding. On December of 2001, Congress passed a measure allowing the President of the United States to designate September 11th as Patriot Day on each anniversary of the attacks. Accordingly, September 2002, President George W. Bush used that authority granted to him and proclaimed September 11, 2002 as the first annual Patriot Day in memory of all those killed on the attacks of September 11, 2001. In 2009, President Barack Obama added to that with designating September 11th as Patriot Day and National Day of Service and Remembrance. And because this program is being broadcast fairly early in the morning of September 11th, 2020, you still have time to think of things that you can do throughout the rest of the day for this National Day of Service and Remembrance. If you don't do it today, there's still lots of time for the subsequent days for you to do something. I was looking on the internet this morning, and I noticed there were different articles saying that there's a fear that we are forgetting. Our memories are fading. Maybe it's because we're preoccupied with the COVID crisis and so on. But we need to remember. We need to not allow ever again this kind of a tragedy to happen. As I indicated earlier, I was in Monterey, California, and I saw on television the aircraft, hitting the second tower. But while I was there in Monterey, California, I experienced firsthand how the people of California were very moved by the tragedy that had happened on the East Coast. So it wasn't just what happened in New York City and Washington, D.C. that was of concern to people here in the East. It was truly a nationwide felt tragic event. As the picture in the upper right shows, we must never forget what happened. In a moment, we'll be at our time and we will have our moment of silence. As the picture at the bottom right says, if we learn nothing else from this tragedy, we learn that life is short. There is no time for hate. And as the picture upper left suggests, this is forever in our hearts. Okay, let us all stop for a moment of silence. Thank you all for being a part of this remembrance event. Thanks everyone for coming. If you didn't get a brochure,